Hello and welcome to the OKPreps Extra Show. I'm Patrick Prince, joined as always by Barry Lewis. Last week we unveiled the all-world teams for winter sports. So, Barry, you made a lot of decisions regarding all-world basketball. Let's start with the toughest one in regards to all-world basketball. What was the toughest decision?
The toughest one, as far as at least the first team selections were concerned, the starting five, so to speak, it came between two teammates. Union's Corbin Gunn and Miles Flemons went back and forth between them for that final spot. And It was a tough one because they were both so key to Union's surprising run to the state championship game. And It came down to I gave the edge to the senior, Corbin Gunn. Um, that was really difficult, and that sort of led into DJ Howe from Broken Arrow was also very strongly considered for that final spot. Actually, sort of you could consider them like the final two spots on the team because we had the three finalists, which were Wassell's Jalen Montanati, Booker T. Washington's B.J. Harris, and Sand Springs' Deke Thompson. Then we had the two other slots for the first team, which were Cassia Hall's Dallas Lowe and then as it turned out, Union's Corbin Gunn. Uh, but So those would be the toughest choices, and that led into the toughest choices for all state. There were like five or six players I was considering for the final spot on the top 15 for all state, and gave Dallas Lowe, the only sophomore on our all state
Mhm.
first team, very slight edge over Corbin Gunn, but there were like five or six people very strongly considering for that last spot on All-State first team.
What about the girls? You picked the girls team as well. Toughest decision there.
This senior class of girls basketball, both for the area and state, is probably the best senior class, the deepest senior class that I've witnessed in all my years of covering basketball. Granted that I've been, for the most part of the past 40 years covering basketball, I've been more focused on the boys than the girls because we had Mike Brown and others do the girls during that time. But I've also paid a lot of attention to girls basketball throughout the past 4 decades. And I think this is definitely the deepest senior class, which made these selections very tough. I mean, an example of how deep it is, normally drifting to all state, that one of the things that differentiate our all state teams and all world teams than the Oklahoma Coaches Association for the all state games is that all players are eligible regardless of class for our games. And so, usually for all state or even all world, it's not unusual for us to have like an even number of seniors compared to juniors slash sophomores. Well, this year for all state, the all state selections, 14 of the 15 first teamers were seniors. That's incredibly unusual. The only person who wasn't a senior is Maddie Stewart from Lincoln Christian. So, getting back to your question for what was the toughest selections for all world, we had three who really, the finalists, Broken Arrows, Mackenzie Mathurin, Lincoln Christian's Maddie Stewart, and Booker T. Washington's Markayla Johnson really stood out. They were the finalists. That was fairly easy to determine the finalists. Um, but then the rest of the first team, basically the top 15, first, second, and third team, really difficult. Um, Macy Marasini and Addie Whiteley. Macy's from Broken Arrow, Addie Whiteley's from Fort Gibson. They got the final two spots on the first team. The toughest person to leave off, both for all world and all state, was Will Rogers, Sanaya Morrison, who was one of our Player of the Year finalists last year. What a great career she had. She averaged 24 points a game, 24 points per game this year. Another great season for her. So it was really difficult leaving her off, both the All World first team and the All State first team. The difference was this, I've been consistent through the years on this, and this was no reflection of her play, but um, team success is an important factor that I consider in these honors. And so Rogers had a decent year, but it didn't reach the state tournament this year. And it wasn't like a reflection on Sanaya because she did all she could at a great season. But when all things are being equal, the players that I lifted ahead of her, they both uh, were on teams that reached the state tournament, the state semifinals, and were incredibly valuable in those runs, those deep playoff runs for their respective teams. So that was a deciding factor. She was Sanaya Morrison from Will Rogers was the toughest person to leave off the all world first team and then leading into all state. It was tough to leave her off. It was tough to leave off Alyssa Parker from Pacola, the softball superstar, softball state softball player of the year, who's going to OU to play softball. Great career, led Pacola on a great playoff run, and super career in two sports. And so it was tough to leave her off for all state.
Let's transition to football. What did you think of Booker T hiring Nick Goodman?
Very interesting pick because Booker T. Washington, throughout the years, when they've named their head coaches, and they've usually been high profile names. And Nate Goodman is not a high profile name. That doesn't mean that a high profile name guarantees success, or you need to have a high profile name, but that is a high profile job. And there are a lot of expectations that come with it. So a lot of times that you are getting marquee names. That's again no reflection on Nate Goodman's coaching ability because I don't know if anyone really knows about his head coaching ability at the high school varsity level because he's never done it before. As far as being a head coach, he's been an assistant and he's been a head coach at the middle school level, but we don't know. Um, we don't have any track record to go on for the high school level, and that's also really interesting because um, Booker T. Washington being a marquee job, their head coach usually has that previous, not always, but most of the times has previous head coaching experience. So this is appears to be sort of a gamble by all involved in making the decision that obviously they like his ability. He's been Carver's middle school's head coach. He's already got relationships with a lot of the Booker T players, and they are counting on that to help keep Booker T's players at Booker T and not moved and transferred to other schools. It's been a problem for Booker T in recent years, losing some of their top players to 6A1 area schools. And that will be an important part of Booker T's success, no matter who's the coach is. And it will be Nate Goodman that he keeps the talent that is supposed to go to Booker T at Booker T.
All right, we'll leave it there for this week. Thanks for watching. Barry and I will be back next week.